communicated to him that the party has, the leader has the authority to take based on the annual conference giving him that power.
Let me ask you this. All of what you're telling me about, was there any communication in writing on WhatsApp, email, or letters to Mr. Rowe between him and you?
There are WhatsApp conversations.
Okay. And did Mr. Rowe propose an appointment to a housing agency?
No, not in a WhatsApp conversation. So in having the discussion, right, as I said, Lawrence is somebody that does have ability. He was once employed as our data manager. It is not somebody without ability. And because he has decided to attack me, does not mean that I am going to take away from what I think are good things about him and strengths that he has. He does have ability.
Right.
Now, any individual within the party that has ability, I think, should come forward and ask, request that they would want to be of service to their party and country. I see absolutely nothing untoward about that.
Okay.
We know that there is a process for you to get on a board. So if an individual comes to me and says, Dayton, I would like to serve on a board at some time in the future. I want to know what their skill sets are, and there's a process they have to apply, be in a pool, so that they can be considered. If the individual has the required skill set and is of the mindset to support the policy position, then I don't see why the person shouldn't be considered.
Right. So when you conferred with the leadership of the PNP, you spoke back to Mr. Rowe later on the 30th of December. And did you tell Lawrence Rowe that the president agreed one of the 13 Senate appointments?
No. So in the meeting, Mr. Rowe said he was told that he might not be in the 63, but he can be in the 30. I wasn't in the meeting on the 27th. He said that. I queried whether or not it was so. I checked and I was told that it was not said in the meeting. Right? And again, any recording that is produced will prove that. Right? He said to me that he was told that he doesn't have to be in the 63, but he can be in the 30, which I think is speaking to the number of Senate seats that are available if you're in government, based on the current configuration of the Senate. Right?
Yes.
I said I'm going to discuss these matters and get back to you. Again, the leader of the party is the person who decides on who the senators are. We have seen where the leaders of both political parties have appointed senators. We're currently in a constitutional reform process that is suggesting that the Governor General should be able to appoint some as well. But currently, the authority to appoint senators rests with the leader of the two major political parties.
But when you conferred with the leader of the PNP, did he agree to Lawrence Rowe getting one of the 13 Senate appointments?
The two matters, there are three issues that were brought up. Issue of compensation for funds that were expended before, issue of possibility of a board appointment, and the issue of possibility of being in the 13 as he had placed it.
All right,
I
tell
told
you what.
him I would go and discuss it and get back to him. When I discussed it, I told him categorically there was no possibility of any funding to be given to him. That was a no, and that the other two things would be considered.
Please rejoin me after the news so we can complete. Good afternoon. If you're just joining, welcome back. If you were here before, this is X and Y of a different sort because I'm still X and I do have a Y chromosome here with me. He rejoins me, Dr. Dayton Campbell. Back with you, Dr. Campbell.
Hi.
Hi, thank you. General Secretary of the People's National Party. So we were going through the issues as they have been put out and allowing you to put forward the position of the People's National Party in the lead up to the removal of Lawrence Rowe as your candidate for Central Kingston. So we're back at the 30th of December, which is where we ended. And you told me before the break that you discussed Lawrence Rowe's counter proposals with the leadership of the party, and the leader agreed that two of what Lawrence Rowe counter proposed were possibilities. But the other one in
leadership.
Now remember you said to me, and you gave me a long history and understanding of Senate appointments and who can take those appointments.
Right.
So only a prime minister or a leader of the opposition can nominate somebody who they recommend somebody to the governor general for appointment.
But the PNP is not a dictatorship. There's a leadership of the party, and matters are discussed and we come to a consensus.
So this is why I wanted you to be specific, When you said to me leadership, I needed a name and a face of the individual or individuals you were speaking to.
With the leadership. I discuss with matters and members of the leadership of the party.
So who is it who said to you on the 30th of December that the Senate appointment, which you say Mr. Rowe requested, who told you that it was a possibility such that you communicated it with Lawrence Rowe?
Members of the leadership of the party.
Okay. So never mind the lecture you gave me on who does the recommendation for the Senate. You're now saying it's the leadership of the party, unnamed individuals who communicated that approval to you.
I've always said that, and I'm making the point again. The People's National Party is not a dictatorship. Though the decision lies with the leader of the party, he seeks to have consultation and comes to a consensus so we can move forward.
Right.
The reason why we've been able to unite this party is because we have allowed space for different views to contend, for different persons to express their interest and to accommodate them as best as possible in the interest of the party and the country.
And who is it that's in the leadership of the party that you're emphasizing here? Give me some names. Mark Golding, the president?
No. I'm not going to go into that. Certainly there must be some things that we can do in the party that are not for public consumption.
But remember now, you're promising possible appointment to one of the largest legislative chambers in the country, which is the Senate. And it would be good to find out who are the minds behind the promise of this possibility.
I find that question very strange because in September of last year, the government engineered a vacancy in Northeast Dayton where a first-term MP was removed, a senator was removed and placed in that constituency, cost taxpayers $30 million, and we still have not filled that vacancy in the Senate. Even though at the time the Prime Minister said he already identified the person to go in the Senate. And there has been absolutely no discussion about that. Here we are now, where persons in an opposition party, different persons are going to express interest in different posts at all times. Several persons would have expressed a desire to be in the Senate. And I'm quite sure that's not unique to the PNP. And to say we have discussed this and this is a possibility because this person does have the capacity to serve there, I can't fathom how that could be something untoward.
Well, in the first place, if you want to do the politics of comparison, we can go there, but I do not wish in this interview to do it. Secondly, if you listen to my opening commentary, earlier on, I made reference to the Marsha Smith issue. Thirdly, there is nobody who is in the darkness about who makes the decision in the JLP about who becomes a senator. But what you're doing in this instance is completely masking who these individuals are in the leadership of the PNP who is making this promise to somebody you're removing from Central Kingston. But let me go back to the central issue.
No, I'm saying the PNP is not the JLP. If it's the one-man band in the JLP as to who decides on these things, that's not the way it works in the PNP.
Yeah, but the Constitution speaks to the appointment of senator by the Prime Minister making the recommendation to the Governor General, not the leadership of the Prime Minister.
And I'm saying you have different leadership styles. And we in the PNP, we believe in consultation.
Right, okay, that's
so
fine.
That members within the leadership can discuss a matter and we come to a decision on some of these issues. So the leader has the final say, but it does not mean that we cannot discuss the matters.
At any rate, the question I'm asking you, I don't want it to be lost in this sort of triviality here. Am I correct that on the 30th of December, you returned to Lawrence Rowe and you said to him, there is agreement from the leadership of the party that 2 of the 3 things you proposed, they can happen. The 2 being one of the 13 Senate appointments and the other one board membership at a housing agency. Was that communicated to Lawrence Rowe?
Yes. And that there is no possibility for financial compensation.
Was it said to him that there could be 15 million in resources?
I don't understand that statement. No, that was not said.
So,
I had a discussion with him as opposed to if he would want to be employed in a future PNP government. Obviously, persons, there are employment opportunities in the country. And once the person is competent, they can be employed in different capacities. But to say that there was an offer, $15 million, whether in cash or resources, no.
Okay. Was there another meeting on the 4th of January, 2025 with Mr. Rowe again?
Yes, there was a meeting in early January.
And you were present?
After the decision was communicated, yes. After the decision was communicated, I think Mr. Rowe removed his things from the office, and persons would have sent pictures to suggest that the office was vandalized. The windows were removed, and there was an area that appeared as if a door was removed. I sent them to him, and he said he took out his stuff from the office, and that there was no door at that point, so it's not that a door was removed. He then asked for a meeting with the leader of the party, and the leader asked a few of us to accompany him to the meeting.
So the windows and so forth, those were put in by Mr. Rowe with his own money?
He said he changed what was there and he put in some new windows, yes. That's what he said.
And do you know about when he removed them?
It would have been between the 30th of December and the 4th of January.
Right. So the meeting with him on the 4th of January, you said you were present. Mr. Bunting was present?
Yes.
And the president, Mr. Golding?
Correct.
Plus Mr. Rowe?
Correct.
And in that meeting now, what was the purpose of that meeting?
I believe, well, I wasn't sure why he had requested the meeting, but subsequently, based on what I've heard him say, I believe he interpreted the leader having veto, and who's the candidate. He wanted to hear from the leader himself and not through somebody else communicated with him. And I believe that appears to be the reason why he wanted the meeting.
Right. And the leader, as you mentioned to me before, he communicated something in writing to Mr. Rowe on the 10th of January, 2025.
Right, so at the meeting on the 4th, none of these issues came up.
No.
No issue about board, Senate, money, none of that came.
What came up in that meeting on the 4th, though?
As to, he wanted to know what occasion his removal. The leader expressed some views to him and said to him that he was going to make some additional checks to see, whether or not the decision that was reached is the appropriate decision. He made some checks and then he communicated back to him on the 10th.
Right. Before you get to the 10th, in that 4th of January meeting, all this communication you had with Mr. Rowe on the 30th about the Senate appointment, the board membership of the housing agency, none of those things came up in that 4th of January meeting?
No.
This meeting was recorded?
I didn't record that meeting, no.
Okay. So on the 10th of January now, we're told by Mr. Golding in that letter that he personally did some further soundings of influential comrades in central Kingston after the 4th of January 2025. You know what influential comrades or who those influential comrades are in Central Kingston?
Some of them are known, and I believe it is Mr. Rowe who supplied him with the names of some of them.
You mean the same 6 that you met with on the 24th of December?
It wouldn't be the same persons. It wouldn't be the same persons. I think persons in the leadership, the divisional leaders and others, but he would have supplied the names and numbers to the leader of the party.
But did you get any understanding from the leader of the PNP why he thought it necessary, after the National Campaign Committee communicated to Rowe on the 27th that he's no more the candidate and he'd withdrawn from the shadow cabinet on the 28th of December, why is it that the president was still doing soundings to check whether the decision of the party was an accurate one after the 4th of January? Why was that happening?
It's a significant decision that was coming at a late stage. We knew there was a possibility that changing a candidate at this stage could be disruptive. It also, you have to bear in mind that the candidate would have been in place for a prolonged period of time. So I think fairness dictated that they wanted to be sure that it is true that the issues and the concerns that you've heard, that they are expressed by persons within the constituency, and that it was the right decision. And I think it is on that basis.
And the leader says in the letter the responses he received from all but one of those influential people, the responses were not favorable to Rowe and reaffirmed his assessment that Rowe is not able to unite the party machinery.
Right. So in politics, there's a saying in Jamaica that in front of you, it is whatever, and then, it's Mr. This, and then behind you, it is just that. So you're not going to be able to get everybody to be honest when you are there. So if you...
Dr. Campbell? I think you may be moving a little bit. We lost connection with you. We'll reconnect with Dr. Campbell in just a moment. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, the final segment of the hotline, looking at the developments in Central Kingston. So, Dr. Campbell, the letter of Mark Golding on the 10th of January states, the responses I received from influential persons, they were of the view that Mr. Rowe was not favorable, and also Mr. Golding seemed to have taken an issue with the state in which Lawrence Rowe left the constituency, and he then says, I have therefore decided that you cannot proceed as the party's candidate. Is it correct for me to conclude that there has been a series of indecision and almost making up, finding bases on which to remove Mr. Rowe from the constituency from the 24th of December up to the 10th of January 2025? Dr. Dayton Campbell?
If you're seeking mischief, then you can conclude that. But if you're seeking logics, then you would not conclude that. Because logically, a political party that is in opposition seeking to win an election would not disrupt a constituency that they're on their way to winning. The assessment is made to see whether or not the constituency can be won. If it cannot be won, the party, in its wisdom, has decided that the leader of the party has a veto power over who's the candidate. That process was observed fully in the PNP, and it came to a final decision that Lawrence Rowe was no longer the candidate and we needed to seek a replacement.
When did the replacement come in the picture? Steve McGregor?
This is unlike I'm hearing a veteran politician like Carl Samuda saying he heard on the radio that he's being replaced. We went through a very detailed process. Open, transparent process, communicating with the candidate at all times.
When did Steve McGregor come in the picture for the PNP?
Steve McGregor came into the picture after the decision was communicated to Lawrence that he was going to be removed.
After?
Steve McGregor...
Did you say after?
When you say in the picture, maybe I'm not.
When did the PNP begin to consider Steve McGregor as a candidate for Central Kingston?
Well, his name came up about 2 years ago.
In this recent reiteration of everything, when did the PNP seriously consider Steve McGregor for Central Kingston?
After the removal.
Which is on the 27th of December or on the 10th of January 2025?
No.
Which one?
After he was told that he was removed in December.
So before you removed Lawrence Rowe, did you do any poll in the constituency after the 27th of December to see the political strength of Steve McGregor in Central Kingston?
Those are totally the prerogative of the General Secretary of the party.
Which is why I'm asking him.
And I'm not going to disclose that information at all.
Because you haven't done it. You did not have the time to do it.
No.
You discard a man who was giving you more than 50% to put in somebody about whom you didn't know.
No. You, again, if mischief is what you seek, you will go to a certain conclusion.
No, you know me better than that, Dr. Campbell. You can't use mischief and my name in the same sentence. You should withdraw that. You really should.
If logic is what you seek, you would not come to that conclusion. I'm giving two options, right? If you speak logic, you not come to that conclusion. An assessment is made by a political party whether or not they're in a position to win a seat. You look at where the party is compared to the other party. You look at where the candidate is in comparison to the other candidate. You look at the other things that are required of a candidate in a campaign.
But how can you not look at the candidate that you're replacing the candidate with?
We went through that process. I don't believe that I have an obligation to come in the public space and to say why it is that we've decided to use our internal process to select this person. What the public should be concerned about is whether or not the person that we have selected is somebody that is reputable and somebody that is worthy of holding office in the country. So I'm willing to have that discussion. Is Steve McGregor a suitable candidate to represent the constituency? And I believe overwhelmingly we'll agree that yes, he is.
No, can I just ask you whether...
But I'm not going to question the authority of the leader of the party.
Which is where I want to go.
To select the candidate.
Which instrument is it that gives the leader of the party the ultimate authority to decide on the candidate? Is it your constitution? What exactly is it?
It was agreed at the annual conference, which is the highest decision-making body within the party.
And you're telling me that the annual conference has not so circumscribed the discretion of the leader, so that the leader is to think that you do not make a decision like this close to an election except you have compelling data. Not only that the person that you have was not going to win, but that the person you're seeking to replace him with has more than a great possibility of doing much better than the person.
We've done all of that.
You have not, Dr. Campbell.
No, I've not given you the details.
You could not have done it between the 27th of December and the 10th of January, Dr. Campbell.
Why couldn't I?
Did you?
No, look, I'm not going to disclose the specifics of what we do. That is inappropriate for me to do so on here. I am saying to you that we went through a process. We are not in the business of removing a candidate from a constituency that is on their way to winning the constituency. That does not make logical sense to the people who are listening.
The thing that is illogical is that you remove the man in the dark. Why
would we take out a candidate out of a seat who's on their way to win it?
Anyway,
when we are at 14 seats and we need to win 18 more to form government.
The point is
it is not logical to do so.
Dr. Dayton.
Those who are seeking, no, just let me complete this. Those who are seeking to create an issue will jump to that conclusion. And I want to just make one comment. The persons in media and civil society who have had to criticize the government because of poor practices and have been accused of being PNP should not think that they need to fabricate some corruption in the PNP in order to justify that they are not PNP.
Are you done?
Yes.
Yes, let me get back to the specifics. What shenanigans is it that the party leader spoke to when he was installing Steve McGregor. Let me play the exact clip from him where he spoke about all the shenanigans that used to go on. It can't go on again, or it don't know. Let's just play that, please.
And you know, I think it will be a new day for Central Kingston. Cause the little shenanigans and things were going on before. That cut out now.
What shenanigans?
Again, I don't know why I would be out here disclosing these things. It is not for the benefit of the party. I have a responsibility to protect the interest of the party. I don't know why. Someone would think it's appropriate that I'll be on here discussing these things.
But can I just ask you, don't you think it is highly inappropriate for the leader of the party to insinuate that a long-standing comrade who's been removed as candidate for a constituency, with his removal and the installation of a new candidate, then shenanigans cut out? You don't think that's inappropriate?
No, I don't think what he said is inappropriate based on what I know that he was referring to.
But the problem is you continue to operate as if the PNP is a private men's club.
No,
so you say some things.
We have a female chairman, so I'm not operating that way at all.
Yeah, but if you are making these comments that are so colored, and when we ask you to explain why is it that you make them, your response to me is the comment is not inappropriate because of what you know. What do you know about Lawrence Rowe such that the president spoke about shenanigans that have now been cut out since he's no longer there?
Mrs. Shields, it is the prerogative of a political party to determine its candidates.
That's not the issue.
I think that's a simple fundamental thing. Whatever issues that are there, there is no reason. No matter what is said about me, by Lawrence or anybody else, I am not going to come out and be unkind to them because they were unkind to me.
That's not the question. I was asking you about the shenanigans.
I am not going to speak to anything publicly that does not need to be in the public domain.
All right, hold on a second. This part now, let's just hear this part, this last bit.
A real man is here to serve the people.
What exactly is that about, Dr. Campbell?
Steve McGregor is there to serve the people.
And the one who was there before is not a real man?
Was there to serve the people, but things didn't work out. So he has been replaced by another candidate. And we are intended to win the constituency and to serve the people and uplift the lives of the people in Central Kingston.
What was being insinuated with the use of the term real man?
Both are real.
So if both are real, why is the need for the word real?
Emphasis does not mean that you're trying to separate two things.
Really?
No, doesn't necessarily mean that at all.
Wow.
He didn't draw a comparison between them. He just emphasized that there's a real man here that is going to uplift the lives of the people. And with that, I think we can segue beautifully to say that we now have in place in Central.
I heard you, man. I heard your clip that you have the 63 and you have Steve McGregor. But you know, Dr. Campbell, you know the beautiful thing about the people of Jamaica?
Yes.
The people are so bright and they have the ability to read in whatever you insinuate. And if you do not want people to read anything, be very clear with the language that you use.
I can accept that, but the people are so bright that when I'm on the road, they're asking me, how is it that the JLP caused Marissa to resign, then brought her back and spent 30 million out of their money when people are complaining about something in the PNP that did not require any form of funding from the public, and there was no promise of any funds.
When I have the Prime Minister here, I'll be happy to ask him, and I've made my own commentary on the matter. Can I thank you for your time?
You're most welcome.
All the best to you.
Good.
General Secretary of the People's National Party, Dr. Dayton.
Based on that interview, I come with one conclusion. The PNP party, the PNP criminal organization is corrupt, and Mark Golding, Dayton Campbell, all of them, need to resign immediately. Lawrence Rowe was always right.
Communicated to him that the party has, the leader has the authority to take based on the annual conference giving him that power.
Let me ask you this. All of what you're telling me about, was there any communication in writing on WhatsApp, email, or